I like the fight between the bat and the ball. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. When you want to play cricket, you have to have the passion and you have to learn. The records will come, but at the end of the day, you think about how much matches you won for the country. But happy to have records as well.
Next to a wide-eyed image of him, captions read Murali
could do.
It was like you were facing 14 balls all at once.
He's made a lot of batsmen look foolish, but there are lots of times when he's made me look the same.
You felt that there was an opportunity every time he bowled.
Murali had this kind of freakish genius.
But you can argue to the end of the days whether it was an illegal action or not.
He wanted to know, am I legal, am I illegal?
Dedication, commitment, hard work, the passion that he had, the enthusiasm he had for the team.
The way he has brought the country together is something that we all should appreciate.
And Sri Lankan cricket would never have got on the map without him.
He was a magician, simple as that.
He throws his arms aloft and smiles, celebrating.
However, controversy was brewing due to accusations that Muralitharan was illegally straightening his arm during his bowling action.
There were a lot of people in Australia, umpires and coaches and players, that were convinced that he wasn't, he was an illegal bowler.
We felt that though Murali's action looked different, it was still a legal action, and he was going to be a threat. And when that does happen, when people do feel that here comes a threat, they try to nullify it.
I think we've got a sensation on our hands here. There's absolutely no doubt that he's called him for throwing. Umpire Hare is the umpire who's doing it. He's decided that his action is not legitimate. So what he's saying is that he had his arm bent and he straightened it. This is his livelihood, and all of a sudden he's being no balled out of the game. Muralitharan is seeing his career float right out of the window.
I was surprised, and I didn't think it will happen ever. He came and said, first ball, no ball. I thought I just overstepped it.
I think with just the natural, your eyesight, you would naturally think that Murali was throwing the ball.
I just asked him and he said, you're not bowling, you're throwing. They called me about 4 times or 5 times, and still I bowled. That means my other balls are okay. So I went to other side and he didn't call. So that was unfortunate.
For a one-day tournament following the controversial Boxing Day test of 1995, and a week later, Muralitharan's action was called into question again.
It looks to me as if umpire Emerson has called him for throwing. Well, that was a leg break. So he's called him for bowling a leg spinner twice in this over. And it's very difficult to throw a leg spinner. Some say impossible.
He actually had a laugh because they called on his leg spin as well a couple of times. So he was coming and saying, you can't bowl a leg spin with a bent arm, so they're just like targeting it. And I think he handled it really well. He was very confident that he could go and, go through the testing and get it sorted.
The technology was the thing that saved him. It was an illusion. It was something that you saw with your own 2 eyes in 2 dimensions, and you thought, well, gee, this bloke, he's got a bent arm.
His wrist seemed to be able to turn in 360 degrees.
He always said that he wanted to know whether he was legal or not. He didn't change anything when he came to the lab. He bowled exactly the same because he had such high standards that he wanted to know, am I legal, am I illegal?
The problem for the ICC was that having videoed every bowler virtually in international cricket, what they realised was that every bowler, to a degree or another, was straightening their arms. So they had to bring in a regulation to accompany the laws to say that bowlers were allowed to straighten their arms to a particular degree.
All the world's bowlers were doing it, and the reason, I believe, why they chose 15 degrees was 80–90% of the world's bowlers fitted underneath that particular measure.
Some people say the ICC changed the laws about chucking. They introduced this 15 degrees of flexion simply to accommodate Muralitharan, but the fact is the game would have been a lot poorer without him.
Finally in the clear after nearly 10 years of accusations about his bowling action, Muralitharan got back to doing what he did best, taking wickets.
I think he's probably the hardest bowler I've ever had to face, and for a number of reasons. One is the eyes, to start with. As he's running into bowl, you know, he's got these huge eyes coming in looking at you. Secondly, you've got to try and figure out which way the ball's turning, which is quite scary. You know, if you don't know which way the ball's going, it's quite a daunting prospect. And I felt like I could probably pick it 70% of the time, so that's not great. And then thirdly, it's the revs he gets on the ball. It's like a, you know, and you can really hear the revs on the ball as it comes down to you. And then lastly, there's normally probably 4 chirpy Sri Lankans around the bat, chirping away at you the whole time. So extremely challenging facing someone.
He was carrying a team with virtually no other bowlers. They had Chaminda Vas, a very skillful left-arm seamer who operated about 80 miles an hour and did clever things on flat pitches. But once Vas had gone and the shine had gone off the new ball, it was basically Matai Muralitharan versus the opposition.
It was him, really, more than anybody, who managed to haul that Sri Lankan team from being a team of also-rans with a few talented cricketers, but not particularly competitive, to becoming a force in Test cricket.
It was during a one-off test against England at the Oval in 1998 that Muralitharan stamped his authority on Test cricket.
When Arjuna won the toss and put England in, to the surprise of everyone, people were wondering, what has he done? And England went on to pile up a huge score, 400 plus.
England scored about 400 runs, and I got 7 wickets, but it was too much for a test match, 400 runs.
The English batsman batted really well. The wicket did not have that much of spin, so Murali really had to work hard to get those wickets he took.
The batsmen also need to get a special mention because they scored the runs so fast to get ahead of England, gave Murali the opportunity to go through the English batsmen.
The second innings was just something special. I mean, the wicket was spinning, it was slow, and every ball was like a grenade thrown at the English batters.
I was fortunate to take 9 wickets, and 1 wicket who went was run out. So that was a highlight of my test career.
He bowls numerous batsmen out.
After the 90s,
again cleared by the ICC following scientific tests. Shortly after this, the off-spin bowler went about perfecting a new delivery.
When the Dusra came, it was double trouble for batsmen.
He gets a batsman out LBW with the Dusra.
it's trying to get the ball to go away from the batsman, and he's an off spinner, which generally does turn into a right-hand batsman. So the Dusra is the right arm off spinners, googly you would say. So you just try to flick it off the back of the hand and try and get it to move away.
Things like that change the concept of we having the idea of, yeah, we need to put out bowlers that are sort of technically correct and they have the perfect drift or whatever, but Murali added a completely new dimension to it.
Murali started bowling those Dusras, then he became the lethal.
Murali realized how good he was, and no one could stop him after that.
By 2004, Matai Muralitharan had become the youngest player to reach 500 test wickets. It had taken him just 87 tests to reach a milestone that came against Australia.
It was just confusing and mesmerising. Like, you'd see this little bloke sort of tippy-toe in like a ballerina and then big eyes and then come up over the top. Before you knew it, it was like you were facing 14 balls all at once.
He'd bowl and he'd bowl flows like magic dust coming at you, and my brain knew he was bowling off spinners, but because of his hand action, it looked like he was bowling leg spinners, so I knew it was going that way, but my brain was telling me it was going this way, so it was an absolute head blow.
Of all the guys that we played, I think the most time that we spent over anyone in discussion would be Murali.
For don't talk about at length. They're more interested in his turn, but he doesn't bowl any bad balls. So it's not a question of you can wait for a bad one and don't leave the crease or anything. You've actually got to make the play, and I think that's what's so good about him. He forces the batsman to play aggressively to good bowling, and he generates an enormous amount of turn. I think that's the key to his success, really.
He's a fantastic bowler. He turns the ball obviously prodigiously, and I think he's probably twice the bowler now that he is probably 2 years ago, because he's got that straight one with the same action, which is very difficult to pick, especially when the ball gets older.
Oh, and they've asked the question, yes.
Placed Shane Warne as the all-time leading wicket-taker in the history of Test cricket.
Sri Lanka was here, Australia was there. So I think it's unbelievable if you see Murali's record and Shane Warne's record.
That was very, very pleasing, and it was very happy to do that. And I always thought whoever plays longer will have the record. So I was lucky enough to be younger than him.
Shane Warne was in amongst a great attack, you know, McGrath, Gillespie, Lee. Murali was almost carrying that attack on his own. It meant that he bowled a lot of overs, which put tremendous strain on his shoulder. But he also carried that responsibility throughout his career, and he responded fantastically well.
I have a lot of respect for Warne. I picked so many things from Warne as well. But my favorite and whom I rate #1 ever is Murali.
Murali wanted those records, but never at the cost of the team's objective, or the cost of playing for too long, or at the cost of you know, everyone looking at him and thinking, oh, he's just playing on because he wants to do something or achieve something. It was never that case.
2.5 years later, the highest wicket-taker of all time made the decision that the first Test against India in 2010 would be his last. He had 792 Test wickets to his name.
I always thought I wanted to retire when I was in top, not because when people want me to go.
Kumar was the captain at that time, and we both said to him, you got 3 Test matches, you know, you can finish it off in Colombo, his home cricket ground.
And he just looked at us and he said, no, but that's ridiculous for me, because that's not what I want to do. I want to take 8 wickets in this match and be done with it. If I take it, it's great because I want to do it. It also means if I take the 8 wickets in this match, we'll win. But if I don't take it in this match, I don't want to come back and play again, because that's not who I am.
He had made up his mind that whether he got there or not, he was moving on, and that was a big decision, because for a bowler to get to 800 wickets, you have to play for such a long time.
I had about 8 wickets to take, and at the time, best batting line in the world. So Sachin, Ganguly, Lakshman, Dravid, Sehwag, and they were playing well as well. So I choose the right wicket as well, because Gaul is always spinning friendly wicket.
He was stuck on 799 with India 9 down for quite a while.
If he had not taken that wicket, it would have been a tragedy. But Murali would have been able to accept it and move on. And he would never have put himself above the team. And that's, I think, again, Murali in a nutshell.
Getting that last wicket on the last ball in a Test match, and getting 800 wickets, winning the Test match, can't ask for anything else. You can't write a better script than that.
Justin Langer.
He gave me more headaches and more sleepless nights than any of the fastest of bowlers, because I couldn't pick him, I couldn't work him out, and he was ruthless.
Most batsmen thought they had to defend against him, and that makes his haul of 800 Test wickets all the more remarkable.
800 plus wickets in a Test match cricket, that's really special.
I mean, what a champion human being. I just totally respect him.
All Murali told me was, you know, I can have turn and dusra or whatever, but my greatest strength is to be able to run in with my eyes closed and deliver a ball exactly where I wanted to pitch. And that's Murali.
Throughout, the people were supporting me, so that's why I could overcome all the obstacles. All the captains who I played under, and also all the senior players and the players who played with me, still in good terms with them, and I'm happy with them. And also the public. So public is give everything to me, because this game is, if the people doesn't watch, there is no cricket.